Hello, I'm Jacob and you're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today I'm very excited to give you my kind of first impressions on the Ontario Sp10 Raider Bowie. Now I say kind of first impressions because this is actually the second time that I've owned this knife, but it has been quite a while, and so we're gonna jump right into it. Now, there are a lot of other knives in my lineup right now that are supposed to get a first impressions video before this Ontario. However, this Ontario, the Sp10, is a follow-up for my Sp53 video, which has been waiting for months. The reason being is that I received two defective Ontario Sp53s. I'll probably put the videos up right here. Wonderful performing knives, just great knives, but they were both loose in their handles. And since it looked like Ontario was using Sp10 handles slapped onto Sp53s, and they were talking about repairing my knives using tape and glue, which I find to be unacceptable, I told them to instead send me the Sp10, which I've never heard of a person having these problems with. And they said that it would ship right away. It didn't, but let me just say, because most of my viewers here will know how I feel about Ontario, I do like them very much. Where they may falter with their customer service, they do try very hard, they will work with you and they will make things right. The knife did come in, I am happy with it. There are things that I am not completely happy with, but here we go. I think this is about 4 months in the making now. All right, so we're gonna do the typical initial impressions video. First, we're gonna talk about the blade, then we're gonna talk about the handle like usual. With this knife, we're gonna talk about balance, which we normally do not do, but it's a very important thing to talk about for this knife. We'll wrap it up with the sheath. Before I jump into that, I will mention, normally my initial impressions videos are right when I get a knife. You can tell that this knife is brand new. However, usually I've already used the knife quite a bit by this point. So this is an initial review. I just got this knife in the mail today, but I do also have quite a bit of experience with the blade from the past. So although this is an initial impressions review, it is based on experience, but as you can tell, not experience with this exact blade because this sucker is brand new. I'm sorry for saying this. One thing that I did run into, I wanted to make sure that this knife was 1075. Ontario is moving their Sp10 line from 1095 to 1075. I'm not exactly sure when the change came. I think it was about 2 years ago. When I asked them whether or not this would be 1075 or 1095 or 5160, who knows, they had no idea. And one downside to Ontario, their customer service will work with you. They are great. They don't seem to have a clue about knives, which is a bummer. All right, let's get into this. The blade, you got a 10-inch blade here. I'm not talking specs, by the way. If you want to see the specs, go to Google. 10-inch blade, 1/4 inch thick, 1075 steel. We're not gonna go any more deeper into it than that, but it is a saber grind. Edge thickness is acceptable, not too bad. And my greatest concern is this tip. It is very, very long and very thin, and I am fairly confident that I will break it through normal use down in the fireplace and around the yard here. Also, you got a ricasso here. It's not too bad to choke up on around the guard. The guard could be a lot better. We'll talk about that with the balance, but for the blade, it's doable. The blade's, and it's a beautiful shape. I don't gotta tell you that. It's freaking nice. We're gonna talk about the handle. This is the standard Ontario Sp10 handle that has just been around forever. This knife has been made just like this. I can hardly tell you how long. It's been a really long time. However, on the Sp10, the top of the handle is completely smoothed out, which is why I think my Sp53s had Sp10 handles, because the tops weren't finished. Completely smoothed out, and you have this big, thick daddy guard here. I'm going to count this guard as part of the handle. That seems to make sense to me. Edges are kind of square. You can mess yourself up on the edges of this guard, that's for sure. The shape of the guard could be more intuitive to comfortable use here. Not the best, could be shaped a little better. Also, it's probably unnecessarily thick. And again, square edges on a handle is a bad thing. The handles themselves are craton. If the knife does not come loose from these handles outside of you throwing it in a fire, in my experience, they are almost indestructible. That is a good thing. They do mitigate shock fairly well. There is the large downside, in my opinion, of if you are not wearing gloves, they will create hot spots like crazy. I've used these handles so much, guys. Hours and hours and hours of use on Ontario SP Sp10 knives with these handles. They will beat you up barehanded. I used them in the military with the Spax axe. I used to have a couple of those too. Terrible, terrible axes. But so this handle, sticky, will beat you up without gloves. Upside, if you have gloves on, these handles are great. They are great with gloves. Probably some of the best handles out there. In my opinion, if you need to wear gloves for a handle to be comfortable, it is not a comfortable handle. However, if you always wear gloves with your knives, which I basically never do, and you want to find a knife that is very comfortable while you're wearing gloves, then the handles that are perfect for your hand might not be so perfect anymore, and this handle is probably going to be what you want. The last thing that I have to say about the handle so far is on all of them, the back is kind of unnecessarily square. I've never understood this. It's like Ontario, you're molding this handle. You could pick any shape that you want in the world. You have, it goes in a mold, it's rubber, it's done. You pick any shape. Why square off the back? You should make the most ergonomic handle possible. It's not too bad, but it will get you. Now, usually we'll go straight into talking about the sheath. Now we're going to talk about weight distribution. In the past, this knife has been outperformed by the Becker BK9, by the Ontario SP5, by the RTAC 2, by the Hunglis. I would confidently say it will be outperformed by the SE Hunglis 2, which is a smaller version of the Hunglis, and the reason is weight distribution. Traditionally, the Sp10 knives chop extremely well, far better than their weight inside would lead you to believe, because this stick tang, which they call a full tang, it's not, this stick tang gives you a blade heavy balance, which I love, most people hate. It makes them chop well, bottom line. However, the shape of the blade here, how it thins out so much at this point, and how it thins out with the swedge and with the grind, there's not a lot of metal past right here. Not a lot of metal. That's all the full thickness metal you have right there. So that combined with the size and weight of this guard put your balance point like way up here. Without this guard, I believe your balance point would be probably here, and this thing would probably be a chopping machine. Also a little bit, if the tip stopped a little bit earlier, had a little bit more belly, and I think it would fix the weight a little bit more and give you a less, what I believe will be a fragile tip. Now this is 1075. I do trust Ontario's heat treat, so we will see how that holds up, but I'm going to be banging on this tip with a baton because that's what I do. I don't think it's going to hold up. We'll find out. All right, and we're going to talk about the sheath, and I'm going to wrap this up. This has ended up being a rather long video. However, I think this is all good stuff. The sheath, made in China. They used to be made in America. The DeSantis sheaths that they used to use, that I'm used to, that are half leather, half nylon, are a whole lot cooler, However, to keep this knife at the insane price point of $50, I have no problem with this sheath. It's adjustable. I will actually do a video specifically on adjusting Ontario sheaths very soon. But you have double retention here. You've got one clip here. You've got one clip here. In my opinion, this sheath is perfectly fit and suited to this knife for the price. You can throw it on your belt. You can throw it on your pack. It's a freebie, guys. This is a $50 knife. If you really like it, buy a custom sheath. The custom sheath will cost you $80 to $200 and make this a very expensive package. The upside of that is if you buy an expensive sheath for it and you break your favorite knife that you're willing to buy such an expensive sheath for, then you just go buy another one and stick it back into your sheath. It's a good package. It's a good way to go. Most people buy expensive sheaths for their favorite, most expensive knives. Buying an expensive sheath for a cheap, easy to replace knife, not a bad idea, right? All right, and I want to wrap this up. I've talked about Ontario a lot and how I don't understand what they're doing with the market, what they're doing with the new knives that they're releasing. Honestly, for free, I would help Ontario make knives that I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, would sell with minimal changes, all right? And instead they're going with new models, finding new directions. They're very corporate, very, very corporate. I don't really understand it, but the Sp10 and they're basically dumping the Sp10 line, which is an absolute shame because these knives are absolutely iconic. I'm not saying they're dumping this one. I think this and the Sp5 will be around for a long time, but it would seem to me that the Sp53 is getting ready to go away, as well as that Boar Hunter, whatever SP number that is. The Sp2, the Sp5, the Sp10 will probably stick around. There's probably some others. But what all they need to do to make these knives sell, in my humble opinion, without raising the price too much on this, use a brown material like they already use on the OK3C Marine Corps bayonet, which I have. I'll post a picture of that right here. Use that. That would look more traditional, almost like a leather stacked handle, and also reshape the guard, maybe even keep the thickness, but chamfer the edges, reshape it so it'd be a little bit more comfortable to grab around it, and wham bam, thank you ma'am. You could cut a good bit of this size off this guard, cut a good bit of the weight, make it look different. All of the Sp10 knives should get that brown handle material. I think that would be phenomenal. It is a different material. It's some kind of elastomer, so I'm sure there'd be some cost involved with that, but that would be great. And so the Sp5 and the Sp10 especially should have that handle material on the handle, and it would sell, I believe. The other thing is, at a more expensive market, because Ontario does sell more expensive knives, frickin' put a leather stacked handle on this thing with a brass guard. How can you not be doing that already? Everybody's modifying these to do that. This knife with a leather stacked handle and a brass guard, which Ontario does tons of leather stacked handles, would be similar to $300, $400, $500 customs already on the market. Offer in 1075, maybe without the coating, maybe with the coating, I don't care. Put a leather stacked handle on it, a brass guard. You couldn't keep these in stock at higher prices, and that is where Ontario falls on their face, is they kept trying to sell higher priced knives that were nicer. I love them. I'd be happy to buy them up, and I've been a long-time customer of Ontario's, especially since they won't work with me in any way on this channel for some reason. But what they sell the best is their absolute cheap knives. Well, their more expensive stuff, they just keep missing the mark. They make silly decisions that would appear to me show that they are separated from the market in a way that they don't understand what we're buying. They're not getting it. But it is what it is. I mean, if they just stuck to some of their classic stuff and selling them cheap, that would be fine. I just want them to see, I have decided that Ontario Knife Company is a iconic, historic, and vital part of the American knife market. Because you can buy good quality knives for such an affordable price, I believe that they are important to the American knife community. No matter basically what they do, I believe they're important. So like, I want to help them. I don't want them to see them. I'm personally invested in not seeing them make stupid decisions. And well, there you go. I will also say, looking at the grind marks on here, when I was buying Ontario's originally, they were still all hand ground. You'd get some wonky crap. This appears to be machine ground. I could be wrong on that, but it looks to me like I can see some machine lines in there behind the coating. That's a good thing. If they can not have wonky grinds, that's a winner chicken dinner. I'll talk about sharpness. This is hair shaving sharp in places, not all the way across. I would say it's an acceptable edge, not a perfect edge. I've always gotten better from Ontario in their more expensive knives, but I'm not disappointed, especially for the price. So I wasn't even gonna mention it, but now I did. That's what I got, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Over the next year, 2 years, we're gonna be beating on this thing all the time like I do on everything. We'll see how it holds up. If the tip does break, I might get it custom ground, maybe. I might see, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm just looking forward to it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope that you have a blessed day. Also, in the description box below, there are ways that you can support this channel. I do run my own website, beachandtactical.com, where I hand make custom rifle slings and other stuff. Also, I do have my own knife company, Exodus Knife and Tool, where I can barely ever get enough knives to sell, and you guys always buy them all in like 5 minutes as soon as they're ready. So I'm trying to get more of them available so everybody can get what they want. And I'm also a brand ambassador for Palmetto State Armory and Optics Planet. Palmetto State Armory sells a lot of stuff, everything, great prices. And Optics Planet is like Amazon.com, except for men. They literally sell everything. Knife stuff, gun stuff, camping stuff, chemical stuff, stargazing stuff, mop suits, gas masks, tents. If you can buy it and it's for a dude or a scientist or an engineer, Optics Planet probably has it. They're ridiculous. So those will be in the description box below. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you in the comment section below.